All right. So, why does this video exist? Well, you are likely here because you want to make a lot more aligned money following your core passion, or because you are making money doing something that no longer feels aligned and is becoming life draining and you want to move away from it. And you're likely excited and ready to step into a whole new version of yourself and to make that transformation. Yet the question of how do I do that keeps you up at night. And the number one questions that are asked around this time are usually, what do I offer? How do I sell that? Who would pay me money for XYZ? How do I reach people? How do I get more clients? And do I even have any real value? And this seems unreachable, this vision that I have of living my most incredible life, being myself, and getting paid for it. And these are all good questions, but they are not the right questions. This video will teach you a dynamic new way of thinking, which will lead to the right questions, which will lead to the answers and a whole lot more aligned money and fun in your life. And all of these questions become irrelevant once, as a human being, you know your true value. When you know your true value and how to bring it into the world is your oyster. And you will move out of survival and into thriving. When people don't know their true value, it is painful. And because that pain exists, we usually complicate our lives, our businesses, work hard, make misaligned choices, make misaligned stress money or little money, and jump through endless hoops that lead everywhere except where we truly want to be. And the internet is full of mainstream life and marketing business advice that sounds very good and promising, but it misses this entirely because it's mainly made for 20-year-old kids who are trying to sell things on the internet. And egregores like find your niche, grind and work hard, create an offer, make a funnel, social media presence, productivity, selling, marketing. These are all well-intentioned ideas, but generally have catastrophic consequences for people with depth and genuine desire to serve humanity because it misses the essential, your true value. And you are here likely because you are a person of depth. You are connected to your spirit and you're calling forth and surrendering to a higher power and organizational force. And you have had likely glimpses showing you what's possible when you're in your true power. And the general mainstream ways of doing life and business do not really apply to you and never really did. And it's why things have felt painful. And so in this video, we're going to expose the natural way of doing things to understand why this pain actually exists. And you're going to understand that that pain is actually a signal of misalignment. And you will learn what your true value is and how to align with it. And in essence, you will make a lot more aligned money, have a lot more fun, and help a lot more people, and finally feel like you're actually being yourself. It will feel in the end like you're doing what you did when you were a kid, except you get paid for it, and you get paid a lot. And a little bit of a heads up here, this video is going to be a deep dive and a perspective shift that if you open up to will facilitate an identity shift that will change forever how you look at yourself, at life and business for the rest of your life. Parts of this will click right away. Parts of it will not click right away. And the reason for this is we are undoing centuries of false programming about what it means to be valuable and the incestuous noise of the mainstream marketing information in the world. So I recommend that you watch this video a minimum of 10 times because it has to go deep. In our sessions, I'll be assisting you in integrating this into your life. And action is key. You acting on this will actually take these concepts from your mind and into your body, and then you will be unstoppable. It will take some time, but once this actually clicks in, it's priceless and the greatest gift that you could give to the world and humanity at large. And this will be invigorating. It may also be destabilizing and confusing, and that is a good sign. I'm not sharing this with you so you can copy me. This is not a copy what I do framework. These are principles of how to actually live in a way where you become uncopyable and serve at the highest level possible. This is a map for the structural disassembly of your false self and the reassembly of something unspeakably awesome. Okay. So to start this, we have to ask the question of what is value in the first place? Well, value by the standard definition is simply an exchange of energy between two people. One person has something valuable, the other person deems that to be valuable and they want it, and so there's an exchange of energy. If I hold up a bottle of water, well, it has some inherent value, but if we're in the desert and I have this water and you don't, this is going to be much more valuable to you. And this goes for all things in the world. And another way to visualize this is something we'll come back to often here, is everyone has an energy field. And when these energy fields intermesh, the apex of value exchange is what appears when these energy fields connect, when there's a dynamic exchange of energy and something clicks between two people or organizations or two energy fields, and then there's an exchange of value. And by yourself, if you're just by yourself in a cave, it's very hard to have your value reflected back to you. You need another person to have the value exchange happen. Otherwise, value doesn't happen. And so I've been here alone in this cave-like home for the past 3 months working, and I've been house sitting this cat. This is Joy. She's an amazing cat, one of the friendliest cats I've ever known. And by myself in my cave, I don't really have value. But every single day, there's this ritual where Joy comes over and she meows. And eventually I'll pet her and give her what she needs. And there's this value exchange. And every day or every other day, there's a ritual where I make chicken soup for myself. And she loves the smell of chicken and she meows incessantly in the cave. And then I give her some chicken soup and there's an exchange of value. And in that moment, I don't ask, is the cat in my niche? What can I offer the cat so the cat likes me? Where can I reach the cat? What if I'm not enough for the cat? How do I funnel the cat? What if I offer the cat soup and the cat doesn't like it? The cat simply comes to the value, just like a thirsty person would in the desert would come to water. And the value is inherent and it goes two ways. I get to experience the joy of sharing what I can naturally offer in this dynamic. The offering naturally presents itself in the space we are both in, and the cat experiences love and nurturing and is well fed, and I experience my value as a nurturing and loving person. And again, without the cat, I would just be in a cave by myself. And so if it's this easy with a cat, could it be this easy with people and the world? Could you just naturally be yourself, metaphorically making your chicken soup and have the world come to you? And the answer is yes, but we have been brainwashed to think otherwise. And so value is relational. Nothing has value in isolation. Value emerges in relationship between need and fulfillment. It's coherence, that which brings greater alignment with a person, a system, or reality. Value is energy made meaningful, attention, time, skill, matter, or love directed in a way that creates order, beauty, and possibility. Value is also transformational, something valuable to the extent that it changes a person towards a greater capacity of freedom or truth. But ultimately, value is an experience between two people, or a person and a cat. And money itself is neutral. It has really no meaning. It is merely a measure of value. And the more value you create, the more money you will receive. And ultimately, three things need to be present for value to exist. You need empty space. You need the cave. And you need people and beings in that empty space. And you also need intention. If I'm here in the cave with the cat, but my intention is to be an asshole and not to share my soup, nothing will happen. So the intention is key. The intention in the space with the beings completely dictates what value can or cannot be created. And this cave, this empty space, is actually at the highest level, your soul, your consciousness, what I call your soul blueprint. And you have a unique soul blueprint. And the value of it is infinite. You can create infinite value and money depending on what or who you put into your soul space and what energetic intention is put in it. And when aligned inputs enter into your soul space, you enter into a state called thriving, living in full vitality, where your body heals itself and you're supported in a fulfilled, enriching life. When you're thriving, you express your natural gifts, your strengths and talents, and experience your value in the world. And there are no limits to what you can create, how much value you can offer, and how much you can earn. What comes into your soul blueprint is what comes out. It's kind of like a kaleidoscope. Light enters the soul blueprint, and your soul, your consciousness, will refractalize that into this incredible mosaic of creativity. And all creativity and all value is created this way. If you take my soul blueprint right now and you put a cat in there, well, then the petting and the chicken soup sharing is going to happen. If we take a look at someone like Jim Carrey as an example, if you give this man a stage, what is he going to do with that stage? He'll become a stand-up comedian, make people laugh through the stage. If you give him a script with animals, then this will happen. And whatever you give into the inputs of Jim Carrey's soul blueprint, something else will come out. If you look at this famous painting by Dali of the melting clocks, it's incredible and it changed art forever. And people speculated what this meant when he made it. Like, is it some incredible expose of our conception of time melting around space and different dimensions? And they were all arguing with each other, the critics. And eventually you just asked him, like, what made you create this? And he just said, well, I was just looking at a piece of melting cheese for 3 hours. And then I just drew this and painted this. And so here we have this amazing soul, this amazing creative artist. He looks at melting cheese and his soul blueprint refractalizes that through the kaleidoscope and goes, yeah, this is what I'm going to make out of it. If we look at the Beatles, for a while, they were this really upstanding, well put together group of individuals, and they made really awesome music. And then something happened, and they did psychedelics, and they went to India. And all of a sudden, their combined soul blueprint started making very different music. They created their most prolific album, 48 new songs, some of the best music ever. A song like Strawberry Fields was created around that time. Strawberry Fields Forever, Nothing is Real, and singing about consciousness and endless love. Things changed when the inputs changed. If we look at someone like Elon Musk, you give him a computer when he's young, his soul blueprint will create a video game. Later on, you give him the idea of electric cars and some batteries and creates Tesla. You throw at him into his soul blueprint the problem of going to Mars, and he'll create SpaceX and Starlink, right, to make that happen. And so it's really the ingredients that you put into your soul blueprint that will dictate your perception of value. Ingredients are everything. The problem is most people have very poor ingredients and they have brainwashing and very limited programs about what value even is. And so what are these programs? Well, most people have this program right in the beginning, fed into them since birth. Go to school, go to college or university, get a degree, then you will be valuable. Go to the market, get a job, start a practice, save for retirement, and don't worry, everything will be fine. And what does that create? I think we're all familiar with that. So if you don't like that program, you can become an entrepreneur. Let's see what that program looks like. Learn some skills. Find a niche, make an offer or thing, then you will be valuable. Then push and grind, make noise, go to the market, get attention, sell your thing, save for retirement, and don't worry, everything will be fine. And I know this one very well. And if you don't like this one, well, then you can become a conscious entrepreneur. And let's take a look what that looks like. Find your passion. Turn your passion into a niche. Or is my niche my passion? Or what do I offer? What is it even? I don't know. Box and offer your passion as a thing. Then you will have value. Go to the market, get attention, sell your thing, save and put your money into crypto. And don't worry, trust the universe. You can manifest everything. Everything will be fine. And it's funny because these all look like very similar, different paths, but it's really just the same thing in disguise. And notice this, then you will be valuable progression in there. It's very conditional. And so, have you ever stopped to ask yourself these questions consistently? If I'd sold something for $30,000 and only offered 1 hour of my time to fulfill it, what would that be? If I just had fun and got paid for it, what would that look like? What's the thing I love to do that I would do for free and feels ridiculously easy, yet other people would gladly pay thousands of dollars for? What's a massive global problem I would love to tackle and get paid to fix? And the ultimate one, how can I make $1 million while having fun? Most people never stop to ask these questions consistently. They ask very different questions. And so, coming back to the soul blueprint that you could put anything into and create value. Imagine you have the cat and your soul blueprint. Naturally, when you have something valuable to share with the world, the value is inherent. It just naturally comes up between you and the cat or you and that person. But the problem is, most of us in this soul space, in this soul blueprint, we have all this here. All these other questions. Am I worthy of the cat? Am I qualified to pet the cat? My cat soup is worth only 60. If I tell the cat it's really 5,000, where all the other cats leave me? I'm so scared to fail the cat. What soup do I offer the cat? Does the cat really value me? What's my cat niche, right? And so what this does is it makes this inherently impossible because it puts all this junk between you and the cat. And so the cat can't come to you. And it's very hard. And it feels very hard. It feels like you have to jump a lot of hoops. And at best, you can try really hard and you can build a little bridge between you and the cat. And this will look like putting yourself in a box and really trying to convince the cat that he or she needs to come across the bridge to you through this funnel or pipe or offer or thing. And eventually that might work. And this is what most people end up doing. And I was stuck like this for years. And I had a niche, I had a thing, I sold stuff, I helped people, but I always felt deeply unfulfilled. And I lived in constant scarcity and made a fraction of what I make now and always knew something else was possible. And I found a mentor at one point in my life that changed everything. And he pointed to the path of finding your true value. It was an intense process because my ego went kicking and screaming. But when it finally clicked, my whole life changed. Right now, I'm hitting record months in business. Sales are a breeze. I help people from all over the world and have more fun than I have ever had in my life, serving people at the highest level I can by being myself. And I never focused on finding my offer or my niche. It all fell into place without me thinking about it. And as you're going to learn here, your true value is not conditional. Your true value is infinite. And there's no limit to how much value you can create in the world. And this is not something that you can just realize and know. This is a journey of discovery and not an overnight process. And so the whole point of this video is to show you what this journey actually looks like and the difference between artificial value and true value. Okay, artificial value is what most people think value is. It's conditional. I will be valuable when this happens, when people finally get what I do, when they see me, when they recognize me, when I'm qualified, when I'm finally good enough. It's convincing. Words like pitching, selling myself, positioning myself, getting attention, pushing, grinding, working hard, motivating, hustle, and grinding. That's convincing. And it's predefined. Niche profession. I am a therapist and most therapists make 200 an hour. So that's my value. And I can't do anything else but therapy with clients because my something something degree board will not approve. So it's very predefined and boxed in. True value is unconditional. I have infinite value. My value comes from God and my ability to serve other people, and I can serve anyone on this planet. And it's discovered. I stand in my value, I live it, and I am a constant invitation to it. I discover it with people and my environment every single day, and it's limitless. My value is priceless. I am pure limitless consciousness having a human experience, and I get to intend how much I want to make. And with the help of God and universal consciousness, the right conditions become present for me to discover that value and turn it into currency. I know this might sound far-fetched. Just stick with me. It's all going to make sense in the end. Yeah, 3 things are necessary for value: empty space, people, and intention. And the empty space is the first and most important element. This means removing the false programs and identities that keep you locked in artificial value. All this crap. Okay. And to do that, we first have to shine a light of awareness on what the false programs and brainwashing is, to understand what it is and why it exists. Once you see this, you cannot unsee it, and it will be the beginning of the end of that way of being and a start of a new life where you will be able to make limitless amounts of money by being you. So take a deep breath and let's go on a bit of a journey. I'm going to share a few stories, examples, and this will all tie together in the end. So, what is the brainwashing? Well, it's essentially this, and it's the false program taught in mainstream education. And what this is essentially the attempt to create a self-replicating state of consciousness, STAMP. And it basically is put yourself into a box, think like a machine, then you will be useful to the system. Stay in line, don't be different, be a good girl, good boy till you die, right? Go to school, go to college, get a degree, go to the market, get a job, save for retirement, everything will be fine. And what this is an attempt to take this infinite soul blueprint, this incredible multidimensional kaleidoscope that you are, and to turn it into a stamp. And what you usually put into a soul blueprint will be mixed with your incredible essence and turn into something incredible. But what happens when consciousness condenses like this and turns into a stamp? Well, it doesn't really matter what you put into your consciousness. It just comes out like this, like conditioning, like limits, limitation. You can only climb so high. There's only so much you could reach for. There's only so much value you could have. Who am I to have really any value? Do they really value me? Well, I have to play small, right? All of this is actually deep-seated conditioning. And the stamp in time, what it does is it basically limits how you think about your entire life and your value. And I love to use this metaphor of the rocket going to your soul calling, the center of your galaxy. Imagine your entire journey is like this movement, of this rocket flying to something that you can't even define or put words into. You're going to the center of your galaxy, your deepest heart's calling. And on that journey, you have a linear journey. There's school, there's college, there's some grades in there. Then you might learn a thing here, and a thing here. But the thing is, when you think like a stamp, you forget that you're on this journey to this incredible person that you're becoming, to something unspeakable. And you start to identify yourself with your thing. So maybe you learn therapy here, or you learn EFT tapping, or a certain modality that changed your life or was important, or you got some degree in something. And then you begin to identify as this thing. And it becomes you. And people get married to this thing and not their essence. And they're two different things. And artificial value is essentially what I call the stamp cave. True value is the rocket. And more importantly, what is behind the rocket. And the stamp cave is basically you have a thing, and that thing is a product or a service or a profession. and you need to sell your thing or get hired for your thing. And the question is always, how do I sell my thing? Who can buy my thing? Where can I get more clients who want my thing? Who can hire me for my thing? Maybe I should sell a different thing. Maybe I should do a different thing. It's always the same question, and it stems from this programming. And there's nothing wrong with being a stamp person. It just means you're still mostly alone in a cave. And so it's inherently very limiting because you always believe that your value is your thing and not something discovered. At best, you can get really good at doing, packaging, and selling your thing. However, true, genuine fulfillment will be elusive. It will feel like work, even if it started feeling juicy. You will always feel like something is more is possible and a sense of irritation at not being able to fully be yourself. And the worst part of all is your income potential will be dramatically cut short, massively. And you might end up thinking, I have to do something else to make more money. And a lot of people fall into that trap. And the reason why it's life draining, here's a true story. So for me, I was going along in my journey. And at one point, I discovered self love. And I decided I was going to be the self love guru coach. And at that point, my rocket was going forward, and this thing was at the tip of my rocket. This was the pinnacle of my realization. So I thought, okay, I'm going to apply all my marketing knowledge. I'll take that first blueprint of turning my passion into a business and turn that into my thing and box it and sell it. Yay! And first month, second month, third month, this is pretty cool. But then it kind of like started getting old. 6 months, a year in, the rocket kept on going. I was already evolving beyond this, but I was still there with my flag going, man, my self-love course and self-love coaching. And it just felt dead. And it felt draining. It didn't feel like me. And the more it kept on going, the further what I was presenting to the world was moving away from where I really was. And this is really messed up. This is ingrained into us. It's a split in your dimensionality. It takes you away from the present moment and forces you into the past. That's why it's a stamp in time. You take a stamp in time and try to replicate it. This is how most people think, how most professions think. Okay. And there's nothing wrong with going to school, learning skills, and getting real world experience. The problem comes when we become identified with the point of our journey and identify that as the pinnacle of our value and core identity. And this can be extremely painful. And in the context of a life worth living, even dangerous, as it can mean a bifurcation of your soul's path. And I see this all the time. It can lead to a self-fulfilling identity referential feedback loop that can keep you stuck and limited financially for years. And by bifurcation, I mean this. It's like your soul's calling is actually to go here. And it's telling you, look, there's a way to go here. It's going to be freaking awesome. But at one point, either something traumatic happens or you just realize, I don't know how to like make this turn into money. I don't know what to do. And then you like go in some other direction and you go in this direction. And eventually, whatever called you here is going to pull you back. You're just going to go on a bit of a detour. And this input of go to school, college, university, get a degree, then you'll be valuable, blah, blah, blah. Ultimately, it creates a very limited existence, very limited opportunities, and work and business is a chore versus a vehicle for your evolution and expression. And the self-referential feedback of doom, well, this essentially is the fact that you need inputs. Inputs define your outputs and are a part of your ability to see and create value in the world. The problem arises when inputs become stagnant, sterile, and rigid. It forces us to unnaturally enter a feedback loop about who we are and what our value is. And this forces you into rigid conclusions about who you are, what you're capable of, and what you are not capable of. It is a slow death of 1,000 cuts for the human spirit. Now, I'll show you what I mean. Let's say you have these inputs. I'm a therapist, my stamp in time. I have a degree, and that's what I'm qualified to do, my stamp in time. And I charge $100 per hour, my stamp in time. That's going to go into your soul blueprint. And all information and opportunities are going to be filtered through that input. And so what's going to come out, the only thing that can come out of this is people come to you who see you as a therapist because that's what you say you are. And people will expect to pay you only $100 per hour because that's what you say is true. And they will only bring $100 per hour problems to you because that's what you said you're open to. And so that's a feedback loop because that's going to reinforce this identity. You are constantly creating and experiencing your reality at the same time every single moment. So it's going to re-reference that, and what's going to happen? It's just going to get stronger and stronger and stronger, and people stay stuck like this for years in all kinds of feedback loops. And it's always the same thing. I'm this profession, or I'm this thing. This is my value. This XYZ thing is my value. I charge this much for it, and my value is X. So the same thing's going to come out. The only thing that's possible is what you're putting into it. And basically, if you put peanuts into your soul blueprint, you're only going to get peanuts out, and it's going to feed back peanuts back. It's just what it is. This is how consciousness works. And what we're after, and what I'm offering you here as a possibility, is this feedback loop that you can put gold in, and you're going to get gold out. And then that creates a feedback loop of gold. And so have you ever stopped to ask yourself these questions? And what would your mind look like what would your life look like if your mind looked like this? My value is infinite and shows up as money with ease and grace. It's safe for me to be amazing. How can I make $1 million while having fun? I'm surrounded by people who love me and constantly tell me how valuable I am. What else could I create that feels alive and juicy and would assist people? People pay me because they love my energy and who they get to become in my presence, and my passion and devotion to God reminds others of their alignment, and that's valuable. You're going to create very different outputs if you start thinking this way, especially if you apply the leverage, which we're going to be learning how to apply. And you're going to become the rocket. And what your value really is something far beyond conception. And most people think there are these buckets, right? The thing one, thing two, thing three, but all these things are actually just temporary. By themselves, they have no intrinsic value without you and your essence. And because of our programming, we act as if those things alone were valuable, and we ourselves are worthless. And this is the state of most of humanity. And you might be a good coach. You might have a degree, you have some therapy skills, no EFT tapping, be good with horses, or be a good programmer, a video editor, etc. But that is not your value. These are just tools and reference experiences. When we mistake these things for a value, we lock ourselves as a stamp in time, collapse our soul's blueprint through that feedback loop, and we mistake the tool for the man or woman that holds it. And the value isn't in the tool. It's the man or woman behind the tool, the title, the degree, the niche, or temporary position. Essentially, in this whole feedback loop, we collapse our soul's infinite quest towards something indescribable into a box. And imagine someone like Elon Musk, who's going to the center of his galaxy, some indefinable place. The fires that push him are indescribable, right? And imagine he had amnesia and he just forgot who he was. And at one point, I'm sure on his journey, he'll learn how to use a hammer. And what if he just decides, okay, you know what? I know how to use a hammer. That's what my value is. I'm the hammer guy, and I hit nails, and I'll build decking projects. And this is essentially what I did. And likely, if you're watching this, you've been doing this in your life too. You've become a hammer person. You've traded your essence, this incredible thing that you're moving towards. You've resigned the fact that it could be immensely valuable and make immense amounts of money, and become a hammer person. And the value that you actually have is in the fuel. It's what's behind the rocket, and it's what's pushing the rocket into that center of the galaxy. And this is something so unique to you. And because of our conditioning, you have been programmed to believe that it actually has the least value. And through this process, what you're going to learn is that it's actually the most valuable thing in the world. And it's the thing that everyone has always worked with you and hired you for in the first place. You've just never put a high enough dollar value on it. And we all have this collective amnesia. You have value trying to burst through you right now, trying to channel its way through you from God and the divine to create massive value in the world and create an abundance of money you can use to do good in the world. The problem is you have forgotten who you are. You have lived in a world where everyone has this amnesia and everyone has convinced themselves and one another that the value is in the thing and being hammer people. And you have lived in a world that has convinced you that your heart and soul is worthless and that your pursuit of some title or some external validation is everything, where the opposite is actually true. Your ability to let go and trust a higher power is the most valuable thing in the world. And there's a new type of human being rising up on this planet. And I call it the multidimensional human being. And if you look at society, who, where, or are the wealthiest and most famous people that inspire others and bring the most joy and wonder to the world? They are the goofballs, the weirdos, the outcasts, the people who are actually themselves fully to the max without giving a flying fuck. And the problem is, you have never had your true value mirrored back to you. Most people haven't. Most people live in that feedback loop. And I meet a ton of people in this category who are offering peanuts as a $60 per hour example. And I tell them what's possible. And they say, I don't think that's possible for me. And then I ask them, well, have you ever actually offered something greater? And the answer is always, well, no, I haven't. So how could you know what your true value at a higher level is if you haven't even attempted to have it mirrored back to you? And what if making piles of money while having fun, helping people, and being yourself was far easier than you could actually imagine? And so that essentially is the brainwashing. It's deep brainwashing to turn a human being into a cog in the wheel of the Industrial Revolution. And once you see this programming is actually everywhere. Most entrepreneurs and digital nomads are typically running this programming while simply wearing a different uniform. It's all the same thing. And there actually is a dynamically different way of thinking and being emerging on the planet. And I call this the multi-dimensional human being. And these types of people are very different. They don't have a niche or a strictly defined profession. Although on the outside, the common man could call that man or woman by a profession or title. Typically, they play with life, yet are deeply focused and divinely oriented. They don't make a lot of noise. Or if they do, it's very focused. And they make loads of aligned money and transform the world through their craft, their art, service, and presence. And are you ready to break the spell and enter this way of being? If you're watching this, you likely are. So take a deep breath. To enter this new way of being, there is a gate to walk through. It's a magical gate. And this gate really is a decision. And that decision is to, first and foremost, let go of your identity completely and go all in on discovering who you truly are. This is the driving fuel behind this whole process. And from now on, you are no longer a therapist, no longer a video editor, an IT person, an EFT tapper, horse trainer, coach, mentor, or any of that. Whatever your hammer stamp thing has been up until this point, you have to simply say, I'm no longer that. I'm willing to believe I'm something greater. And you are pure consciousness, an infinite spiritual being having a human experience. This is paramount. And this decision is to go all in on that, on you, God, people, and empty space. And walking through this gate is not a walk in the park in the beginning. It will look and feel a little bit like this, as if you were shedding all kinds of parts of yourself and walking towards something that feels exhilarating, but also terrifying at the same time. And it means letting go of everything you ever learned about life and business and who you think you are. It means letting go of everything you have come to believe about your work, your life, your value, and or business up until this moment. And it means letting go of your identity in business or your profession. It means letting go of all of society's rules and expectations on how you should show up and trusting a higher power to guide you. And it means risking exposure, judgment, and or feeling like an imposter. So it may be uncomfortable. In fact, it will feel uncomfortable. If you already have a business or a profession, it will feel like ripping out the floorboards of your foundation and starting things from scratch. It may also feel like ripping out the floorboards of your psyche. It may feel wrong. You will feel like a lobster climbing out of a shell, trembling inside. And these are all signs that you're going in the right direction. It's a good thing. On the other side of the gate, there's a dynamically different life waiting for you. A life where you are finally free to be yourself, where you are no longer trying to fit yourself into the world, where the world comes to you more and more to fit into your world, where you do what you did when you were a kid, often what you'd be willing to do for free, and you get paid handsomely for it, help and inspire people, and feel deeply healed and whole through the process. That is the gate. So a bit of a story time here. Once upon a time, I was also a cave stamp guy. Long ago, I was an e-commerce marketer and I sold stuff between $100 to $200 that helped you with health and sustainability and things like that, and had some cool businesses. But essentially, it was a feedback loop. And the only evidence I saw was the results of that. And I kept on looking for those types of opportunities. And only people in and around that space would be drawn to me. And that was my identity. And then I became a different cave stamp guy. I said, you know what, screw this. I want to follow my passion and help people and blah, blah, blah. And so I became more of this life coachy kind of person. And I would sell coaching for X and take people through XYZ process. And it was very capped. And that's the evidence I got. And it was essentially the same thing. It was just the same thing. And I met against the same limiting walls. And I became Elon Musk with a hammer. And when you think you are a hammer, and that's all you are, you start hitting everything as if it is a nail. And my life felt flat, dull, repetitive, unfulfilling, and frustrating. And I felt like there was a deep reservoir of value that was within me that I wasn't tapping into. And I felt like I was meant for much, much more. And my number one question was, guessed it, how do I offer that as a thing? How do I sell the thing? What do I do? And I had a basket full of tools and ideas about what my value was. And I kept on trying to prove it, to sell it, to defend it, and convince everyone, especially myself, that I was valuable and worth investing in. And it was stressful. Every day I felt like an imposter. I would wake up in fear and anxiety, wondering what the hell I was doing with my life and whether I had any value or was just delusional and should find a better thing to offer or do so that I would finally have stability and abundance in my life. And eventually, I kind of started to figure out my thing, but was still deeply confused. I had tons of video courses, groups, offers, and teachings, and it was always a freaking thing. And the same thing just repeated itself until I met this guy, my mentor, Blake. This guy changed my life. I won't share too much about him, but he's an extraordinary man. Every day, he's a multi-millionaire. Every day, his day would start with just, he doesn't wear shoes. He goes down to the beach, just sits at the beach for hours looking at the horizon. And eventually he has a thought, like a powerful thought that could leverage things. He goes home and implements that for an hour, and that's his day. And when some of the students in the group asked him, how did you make your money so you could live this way? He laughed and said, no, you don't get it. I've always lived this way. And he was teaching us how to live like this. And he doesn't mentor anymore. He's actually gone off to make movies. But I was lucky enough in my time, in my life, to mentor with this extraordinary man. And my mentor essentially told me, drop and erase everything and start from scratch. And all of what you've done is the past, and it has nothing to do with you. It never did, or your true value. And your true value will emerge when you just interact with people and drop the horse and pony show and just meet people and get curious as to what they really need and how you can help them. And so I paid this guy thousands of dollars. I was like, that's it. And I completely resisted this advice. And I did not fully implement it, nor did I fully understand it. Arguably, I don't think he knew exactly how to articulate it in the way I'm articulating it now. I believe my ability to articulate it has surpassed his, which is why I'm making this. But I spent a year of my life and I continued to suffer until I walked through the gate. I said, screw it. And I started doing what my mentor insinuated to. I let go of my grip. I disconnected completely from who I thought I was and what my value was. I simply went out into the world with the intention of meeting people and getting curious about how I could help them. I went all in on what was most valuable to me. And something massive and magical began to take shape. I stopped asking questions like, what can I do to make money? And started asking questions like, what can I embody today? Who would I love to be today? What would I love to do today? I stopped obsessing about how to make more money and started obsessing about mastering and embodying my craft and everything that I'm interested in. I read books I had always been meaning to read. And when they changed me, I read them over and over again. One book I've read 7 times. I took my part-time interests and turned the endless quest into the mastery of what brings me joy and aliveness and fascination as my new identity and full-time interests. I committed to mastering myself, my emotional state, my focus, and began to rewrite my identity. And I stopped saying I'm this or that and just hopped on calls with people with genuine curiosity about who they are and how I could help them. And that crazy sailing dream I had, but didn't know if it made business sense, I went all in and I did it and followed it through to the end. It was an amazing adventure in Greece. I started posting content on my YouTube channel that I thought no one would watch because it wasn't the thing. They were just the deepest insights from my soul, after all. Who would I even want to watch this? And I removed the noise in my life and committed to finally writing and expressing the deepest ideas I had. And as I did, immense internal clarity began to arise in my being. That massive billion-dollar potential water business I walked away from 14 years ago, I spent a whole year relaunching it, and it ended up changing an entire industry. I became more and more of an empty space with an undefined thing, but a more palpable direction. And people started to just appear in my space from all around me, from the internet and in my personal life, and come into my empty space. And they would say things like, I just love your energy, and I know I'm supposed to work with you. Where before I would tell them I had this shiny ABC stamp package, instead I just listened deep, and instead of trying to give them a packaged cherry, I started to offer the whole cake, going beyond the limits of what I thought my value was and what I could help them with. And God started to use me. More and more people and opportunities of all scales and sizes began to come to me. And I collapsed the feedback loop, and something entirely different happened. As I went all in on value, all on the inputs, well, that's what began to show up on the outside. And it began to feedback loop in a way I never fully understood up until this point. And everything came back full circle 10 times. The self-love thing became the most exciting thing again, but I was explaining it in ways that I could never explain it before because I had a deeper understanding of what it was in the first place. It was never a thing. It was an indefinable direction that I have now deeper, intricate depths. The business thing became the most exciting thing again. My capacity to teach business became an integrated whole with consciousness and love and my nervous system and everything I've been through in my life. I became a multidimensional person everything became more alive. And because I was not limiting myself to one box and I allowed myself to be everything, everything began to serve the world around me and the people and projects that came into my soul space. And I relaxed and I allowed the divine to serve whatever needed to be served through me at the right place and time. And a whole new magical, limitless, alive world opened up. I helped people deeply and I made more money and felt better about it than ever before in my life. And a dynamic new way of operating presents itself when you live in your true value. Instead of you trying to constantly push and make things happen so that you are happy, as you focus on just being you and being happy, things actually happen. Instead of you constantly trying to fit in the world, the market, and money comes to fit itself into your world. And I started to understand something that my mentor always told me, that your value is infinite. I started to see what this means and how to actually turn that into money. So what does that actually mean? Your value is infinite. You may have heard of this. Your limitless consciousness, right? How do you turn it into money? Well, I'll show you how. Normally, in our stamp programming, there's this thing called the market, and then there's a thing called the world. And you think you have to bend yourself to the world. And this is why it's so painful. Because you're always asking things like, where's my niche? Where do I fit in? What do they pay? Blah. And eventually you might kind of like intersect the market with your thing, but it always means taking your infinite essence and crunching it into this contraction intersection right here. And it's why it always feels painful, because it's collapsing your infinite nature into a box. It's forcing your essence into a box, and it always feels wrong. That's why it always feels limiting. That's why it feels off. And no framework or way of thinking about it is going to make it feel better. It's just what it is. This is why questions like, what do I offer? How do I sell that? Who would pay me money for that? How do I reach more people, get more clients? Feel extremely uncomfortable, painful, and frustrating, and why ultimately they don't give you the answers you're seeking. Your body's actually telling you there's a better way. At best, with this way of thinking, most people just learn how to do this efficiently and call that their life. And it's not bad. It's not good. I'm just here to tell you there's something else possible, okay? Imagine for a moment that you're grounded in you in a way you've never been before, in the real you, and the market comes to you. And the market decides where it wants to meet you. And you get to decide whether they meet you at a $500 level here, or a $5,000 level here, or $30,000 level here, or maybe you don't care at all. And this goes on forever. It's infinite. It's a parabolic curve, and the possibility is endless, and it's infinite. And you get to decide whether that's kind of a boxy thing, whether it's a bicycle or a unicorn. You decide how you want to play with the world. This will make sense more and more towards the end. This is magical. And this is how I'm starting to live my life more and more. It's incredible. And the supply of your soul is infinite, and it will meet an infinite demand. What this means is the demands you put in inputs meet the outputs. So imagine your soul blueprint is plugged into an infinite power station like the sun. You have infinite resources. Whatever inputs you put in demands is your soul blueprint. Once it's clear of all the crap, is going to create magic out of that, no matter how small or big the opportunity is, whether it's at that small level or at a big level, whether it's a bicycle, a box, or a unicorn. Okay. And you could put anything into your soul space, a cat, a person, a hedge fund CEO, or a multi-million-dollar project opportunity. If you are in this space and you know how to meet it, the outputs meet the demands, and you can make an infinite amount of money. And that's when you start to move very differently. Artificial value is, again, all about proving, pushing, marketing, tactics, motivation, convincing. True value is more about being. It's about expressing, inviting, alignment, listening, and guidance, and discovery. Discovery. And essentially, artificial value is selling a commodity. True value is inviting the world into your ever-expanding evolution. This is survival. This is devotion. two very different energies. And you are much more valuable than you think. And there is a whole new world available for you once you step in through the gate. And I call it the true value lifestyle. There's a process to this. And these 6 steps are not steps. Think of them more as guiding signposts. I'll be inviting you back to these principles over and over again, not so that you can checkbox them on a list. Again, that's more stamp thinking. These are more like reminders so you can zoom out, see what's actually going on. Eventually, once you see this, you will come to a deeper understanding of your true value. And that's essentially what you're really after. And so the first step, if there really is a step, is that decision, the sacred gate. And we talked about that. But the next one is most important, and it is creating the empty space. You cannot access your true value with all this stuff in your soul and your consciousness. It's just not possible. You need empty space to interact with people and for that true value to arise. And the more space there is, the deeper this can go, the deeper the opportunities there are, and the more money you can make. And creating empty space is important because you need breathing room. Empty space in your life away from the noise and the frantic energy of endlessly trying to do stuff to get ahead so that you will then feel enough or loved. And you need to feel safe in your body and be committed to self-love. And your true value will not emerge if your mind is full of noise. You need to be ruthless with eliminating bullshit in your life, the distractions, the limiting programs, addictions to consumption, toxic habits, and relationships. This is why we focus on the work we do together in our sessions on inputs and outputs, deep breathing, creating safety in the nervous system, Kalegos, and the work we do in our sessions to release fear from your nervous system and reprogram your consciousness and identity. But perhaps more important than that is the fundamentals. Going to bed on time, drinking 2 liters of water every single day, mineralized water, tracking your inputs and outputs, putting your focus on what's actually important, unsubscribing from everything that doesn't serve you. I can't believe how many people I coach. I'm like, how big is your inbox? Well, I have 3,000 emails from all this stuff I don't even read. Unsubscribe, remove your attention from everything ruthlessly. Eliminating social media that doesn't serve you, creating your space of peace every single day. For just you and God, you need time with just you and God and nothing else. Eliminating those toxic habits, people, and addictions that drain your life force. Deciding that you're leaving your old identity behind is one thing, but it's just words. Following through with it means something else entirely. It means establishing and maintaining boundaries with yourself. It's a daily process of devotion, of letting go of the grip of your old identity, and on the idea that effort equals results, and opening up to a higher power. It means being willing to feel uncomfortable in the empty space that's left behind when you let it all go, and breathing into that discomfort is the key. It may mean letting go of people, of clients, activities, and things that used to give you comfort but are now no longer in alignment with the new you. And ultimately, empty space is going to increase your processing capacity. Processing capacity is your ability to receive information and process it in a calm, self-loving nervous system. So in our world today, processing capacity is the most valuable thing ever. And even as a metaphor, if you think of the crypto space and cryptocurrency, what's the most valuable thing ever? It's the ability to process information. Same thing with AI. They need huge computers right now. And the people who are building the biggest computers to process the largest amount of data in the shortest amount of time are making money. Well, the same thing is true for your nervous system. You need space to simply process. Most people are so focused on transmission of trying to go, and go out there and grab new stuff and put stuff in. There's no space to just process. And what I found is that as you increase processing capacity, this is where you become magnetic to people, money, and opportunities. Because processing capacity is like chicken soup for the cat for other human beings. With money, in a shamanic sense, processing capacity is everything. And the problem is, up until now, you haven't given yourself that processing capacity. And when you create that empty space, you start to emit a signal that says, I have processing capacity, I can hold you, and that is ultimately game changing. And the opposite of processing capacity is constricted outflow, trying to do things without receiving first, forcing, grinding, hustling, distraction, diffusion of attention, and fight or flight energy in the nervous system that keeps you in your head and away from your heart. And ultimately, this means making yourself the number one receiver in your life. You need to learn how to truly do nothing. Only when you know how to do nothing will the real something fill the void. So this means focusing on you first, eliminating the noise, and giving yourself the real space and time you need every day to receive the love you need from you and from God. And you will learn how to do this more and more with our work together. But really, the simplest thing you can do is make a list of all the life creating activities and habits you know have no place in your life, and just focus on eliminating them one at a time. And commit to a daily practice in the morning of at least 20 minutes of just you and God and your favorite practice. And that's the most basic start. The next step in this process is devotion, and I call it swimming in it. You want to swim in it. And this whole process really is about an identity shift from being an amateur to being a professional. And there are two books that I highly recommend you read. They are called Turning Pro and Do the Work by Steven Pressfield. These books were instrumental in my process, and I recommend them to anyone. And a word of caution, these are not books you read lightly. They will mess you up in a good way. They are disturbing to your ego. There's no going back after you read these books, unless you want to be in denial for the rest of your life. They are pivotal. And most amateurs think that they need to focus away from their passion to justify their value. But what I found through my process is that professionals live in their value. It's a very different thing. And professionals go all in on their craft, their joy, their passion, and their evolution. And they make that their number one thing. If you think of someone like Freddie Mercury from Queen, these guys weren't focused on marketing and how to sell their albums. They were in the studio 99% of the time, and 1% of the time or energy was focused on putting the record on tape or vinyl. It's 99% devotion and work and 1% vinyl. 99% devotion, 1% what do I do with my website. And most people have this totally backwards. They think that somehow this other way of thinking will save them. Jim Carrey, again, this is someone who goes all in on his craft. He's not busy making commercials and product placements. He's an actor. That's what he does. He's a comedian, and he devotes his time to that. Elon Musk, if you look at his companies, they have no marketing department in any of his companies. They make the product so damn good that it's undeniable. And this is what I've done with my life. I spent all of my time praying, learning, being with people, walking in nature, and tuning my energy and creating things that make a difference in people's lives. But in order to do that, I need empty space. And this is why empty space is so important, so that you can fill it with this. And an example I love to share with this way of thinking is this incredible woman I coached who came to me. Her name was Magenta. And she had this incredible vision to take people on these whale diving tours in the South Pacific Ocean and take people swimming with whales. And she came to me and she said, how do I do that? What do I do? What if I'm not good enough? And she was doing this thing of having this core passion and soul blueprint and putting all this crap between her and that and moving in a different direction. And I told her to simply stop thinking that way and simply just go all in on her passion. I asked her, like, why do you want to do this? And she told me, well, the reason why I want to do this is because I love whales. And when you dive in, it's like you look the whale in the face and you feel its soul. And all of a sudden your life changes. And it's this incredible spiritual life-changing experience. I said to her, that's all you have to say. Just make a video saying that. And all I want you to do is just have fun in your life and just share how much you love whales every day. And that's all she did. And now her retreats for her thing are sold out for 3 years in advance because she's not selling a thing. She went all in on the evolution, on the essence of her soul, which there happened to be a thing that you could buy to join her in on it. But that's not what people are actually signing up for. And this is the same thing that will happen with your life. And so this means ungluing yourself from your stamp and going all in on your craft, your passion, your essence, and your evolution, and taking all the empty space you've cultivated and pouring it into what is most important to you and your vision. And life is a mirror. If you love helping people, you got to get obsessed about your evolution, helping yourself and feeling amazing. And people will line up at your door wanting your help. And I do this all day, every day. And if you commit to the mastery of your craft, you will emanate an energy where other people see you as a master and a teacher and an authority figure. And this doesn't take long and it's not unconditional. If you stop doing that, like I notice if I mess around in my life even for a week, the energy goes down and life doesn't mirror that as much. As long as you stay committed to your mastery today, you're already on the right track. It doesn't take long. And professionals commit to mastering themselves, and all the tricks become irrelevant. Amateurs obsess about tricks and tactics and the website and the perfect offer, and they get absolutely nowhere. And this means forgetting about marketing and tactics and all the how do I do it questions and spending as much time being with the raw nakedness of your craft every day, with the firm knowing that your self mastery is your most valuable asset and all value emits from there. There's no way around it. This is about moving your identity from being a consumer to being a creator. So if you love to make music, make music. If you love teaching and making videos, make videos. If you love photography, do photography daily. If you love dream interpretation, go interpret dreams. Start a free dream interpretation clinic and get people into it and immerse yourself in it. If you love horses and bringing people on expeditions, go be with horses. Invite someone on an expedition tomorrow and get into that identity so you have it in your energy field. If you want to be a coach, start coaching people yesterday, get some beta clients, and start helping people and learning every single day. And you want to start asking very different questions. What are the top experts in your field? Are you reading them or are you just skimming the pages? What book did you read once that changed your life that you could read 10 times? What practice is helping you that you're half-assing? What are you doing once a week that's good that you could do 3 times a day? What if you went all in on it way more and commit to mastery with the stuff that actually helps you? Where do you have a brown belt, but you're actually diluting yourself? You have a 7th degree black belt. Study and devote yourself to the practice and the ultimate black belt. And then the people who actually want to get the blue belt and the green belt will start to show up. That's how it works. When the master is ready, the students appear. But most people are not committing to mastery. They're committing to maybe just figuring it out. And so nothing happens. So most importantly, you must swim in your vision and your prayer. You must fall in love with your new identity and creating who you are becoming. Fall in love with creating safety, love, and relaxation in your body as if your vision was already done. This is the mastery you're ultimately after. Being an instrument that can receive your vision, this is the core focus of the work you're here to do. To connect daily to what you're creating, the importance of it, the impact it can have on the planet. And pray, 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 and pray some more. This means the Kaleos, the mind movies, the walks, the deep breaths, and relaxing into the frequency of completion with the life and vision that you're creating. And aligned action is key. What actions would your new identity take today? Why aren't you doing it? Are you scared? If so, confront that fear and take one small action towards that new timeline daily. The next day, there's no free pass. It's a rinse and repeat. You do it again. That's what devotion is. And this is difficult at first. You live in a world that is algorithmically designed to take your attention and keep you off this path. And you must master your attention and focus, or it will be used to feed someone else's vision for your life and not yours. And you must tame the beast of resistance inside you and learn how this beast operates. Otherwise, it will destroy you. And for that, I highly recommend these 2 books. They are an incredible asset. And ultimately, this is about courage and stepping into your courage daily. And as you step into your courage, you will ignite a fire inside of your life unlike anything you've seen before. So once you're swimming in it, the rest kind of becomes easy. And what is hard for most people will be easy for you. And this is the invitation. You and other people, and eventually your offer. Okay. As you do this, a tremendous energy will take over you. As you remove labels, your soul blueprint is activating. Now you actually want to invite people into this empty space. You can start to create value at a whole other level. And to experience a greater and more aligned level of your value, you need radically more aligned inputs. Means different people, better spaces, and better intentions. And your mind's going to start looking very different, more like this: aligned vision, joint passion, new people, new spaces, new challenges, curiosity, and intention to help. This is the foundation of alignment. And the way we introduce these inputs is by sharing your deepest truth and playing with new spaces, being open and curious as to who shows up in your field and how you can help. So, again, amateurs think they need to focus away from their passion. Professionals live in their inexpressible essence and do their best to invite people into the chicken soup, the cat, by being themselves. This means as you're going to the center of the galaxy, this indefinable, inexpressible direction that you're going and committed to, you just start to share tickets to the center of the galaxy. And this could look like different things. And people tend to think because they have all these buckets behind themselves, these things, skills, identities, and tools in their buckets, they can only share and invite people to those things. For example, I have my therapy thing in this bucket, this XYZ thing here, and I can only talk about that. And I used to think this way myself for years, and it drove me insane as I would constantly try to define myself by the latest insight that I had. Maybe this is my offer. Maybe this is what I do. Maybe this is my niche. And all of this becomes irrelevant when you zoom out of your bucket hammer reality to see the bigger picture. The value, not on what you did, but who you're actually becoming right now. And that your value isn't in the buckets, but in your commitment to something unspeakable. And when you relax into that, other people will sense it and be willing to pay you and to join you on your journey to help them solve their problems and use your buckets and be part of your vision and your evolution. So instead of inviting people into a bucket, you end up inviting the world and people into the totality of your being and have them meet you at whatever level they're ready to meet you. And this doesn't mean you start being all things for all people. For example, I know how to code C++. That doesn't mean I start teaching people programming in my coaching program. I know gardening too, but I don't run a gardening YouTube channel. What it does mean is relaxing the grip on who you're trying to be and being more of who you are. It means relaxing your grip on trying to find the perfect offer and instead getting busy doing your thing, being in your joy, and inviting people into your field and getting curious how you can help them. It means letting go and being guided by a higher power that will guide you to where your skills and essence is needed most and letting that value be discovered. But this is Caleb's story. He was a deeply frustrated 23-year-old guy struggling with depression, anxiety, and suicidal tendencies and nervous system dysregulation and felt totally lost. He had an IT background and he was trying to be a YouTuber and maybe a coach and invested a ton into his own self-growth, learning about marketing, business, and videography. And he wanted to help people, but nothing was landing. And he was asking questions like, what should I offer? Do I even have any value? And eventually he made an interesting decision. Nearly broke, his body started to speak to him and he let it go. And he decided to just go and do some hard labor with close friends who were contractors, construction essentially. As he told me, I just wanted to do something with my body and to get out of my head. And all of a sudden, he had dramatic different inputs, shift of inputs, construction equipment, tradespeople, and extremely poor business practices. And he started having conversations with his friends where he said things like, if you If you just did this and that, you'd make a whole lot more money. And they replied, wow, this is blowing my mind. I like how you think. Can you help me? And he created software to help his friends get found on Google and improve their marketing. And he exploded their businesses and they told more friends. And it was a feedback loop. And now he has a thriving business with loads of trades clients who pay him to implement his ideas to grow their companies. And so paradoxically, by trying to do nothing, he ended up magnetically utilizing everything in his tool belt, stepping into his true value and making money doing what he loves to do, coding, communication, and helping people. This is Thomas. Thomas came to me as a gifted healer with decades of experience with mind body healing, Chinese medicine, herbal medicine, Qigong, lots of buckets. And he had raving testimonials from people who he helped cure cancer and other incurable diseases. And he was stuck in a bucket. He was overwhelmed in marketing hell because YouTube videos told him to believe he was a stamp. And he was narrowing his focus and trying to do a million things. Remember, he had this online community trying to share that he was this autoimmune healer, and he felt like a commodity. And he started to relax his grip and he zoomed out and he realized he wasn't the autoimmune guy, but a miracle healing guy. And it took some time, but he stopped caring about defining himself. And he took his attention away from marketing efforts that were draining his life. And he focused on his passion relentlessly, poured his love into the people that mattered, and his business eventually exploded. And all these stories have a common thread, whether it's mine or Caleb's or Thomas's or your own eventually. It's relaxing, zooming out, creating empty space, bringing people into that space, and magic happening between you and people in that space. And if you let go of your identity and create empty space and focus relentlessly on your passion and craft, you will create a bubble of awesomeness around you. And most people focus on sales and business and making money and offers without taking care of this energetic foundation. And so life is hard. And when you do the hard thing first, life gets easy. You've got to fill yourself up with love and create an energetic container of just wanting to help people and commit to that container. And what is hard for most people will then be easy for you. And you will emit a measurable energetic field that is magnetic to other people that others want to be around. It's just pure physics. Just like the cat that smells the chicken soup, people will sense your value and be attracted to you and your soul space. And there's no limits to the value you can create, only in your imagination. At this point, and this is key, you simply pray to God or the universe, whatever your thing is, and ask sincerely for cold hard cash. And I mean that. The cash amount, you go to it's like a limitless ATM. You go, I would like to make 10,000, 100,000, as long as it's genuine in your being and you've cleared the bullshit. If not, come to the calls, we can clear it. And you say, please bring me to me the people, the spaces, the ideas, the way of thinking so that I may be of the most value with my deepest essence. And please let this show up in a fun and loving way. Boom. And it will show up. And your only job at this point is to be a constant, loving invitation to bring people as close to what is most alive to you in the emptiest space possible. And by empty space, I mean a space in your mind with the fewest preconceived notions and definitions about what you have to bring. Very important. Because if you have a narrow preconceived idea about what you have to bring, you're going to be in that feedback loop. And you might be focused on a $500 opportunity when you're looking $1 million right in the face and you can't see it. And so this means inviting people as close to the value and eliminating the BS and bringing people to the raw burning passion of what's most alive in you now, not what was most alive 6 or 12 months ago. This means sharing yourself in some kind of way, some kind of weekly invitation where others get to experience you. Could be a YouTube channel, could be a Substack, but you don't even really have to even do that. It's not really about having social media. It's about the devotional practice of inviting people into your life. That's what it's ultimately about. It's saying to the universe, I'm an invitation. That's it. This could be a workshop, a Zoom call, an event, all the standard marketing things, except you're not doing this with the standard consciousness. You're doing this not to get yourself out there, but to simply express what's most burning, alive, and most relevant. My YouTube channel at the time of making this is tiny. My videos get like no views, but because there's such sincerity and devotion, people come and my business is growing. And you don't need a massive following to build something incredible. It works through an entirely different set of universal principles at this point. People will come from all places, not just the internet. And your job is to share and invite, let go, surrender, and let God and the higher power do the rest. This isn't about you. This is about you and God. And most people separate themselves from that. The most important part in this process is to cut away all this crap and simply share and invite people to what is most unreal and alive. And it's a big part of this process. The goal is to stop hiding your deepest value and to bring it to the world raw, naked. This could mean eliminating the noise, distractions, and bullshit in your life and focusing only what you love. Many people I coach who just do that, their thing explodes. Okay? This could mean you stop trying to be who you think you need to be and get a construction job for a while simply because it feels good. It might mean you stop trying to offer generic life coaching advice and realize you're also an incredible father and a lover and multidimensional business person, and you can bring that to other people as well and go all in on that craft. It might mean you stop trying to sell whale swimming trips and start sharing your love for whales and spiritual transformation instead. It's all about moving away from the stamp and moving towards the rocket. In general, you try a lot less and you be a lot more. And when this happens, people start to show up in your unique soul blueprint. And so how do we make money from that? That comes the next part, the discovery, the offer, and making money. So at this point, people will start to gather around you and you will feel the palpable potential of something. And most people at this point turn to gimmicky marketing frameworks, launch a paid school group, and collapse their true value potential. Or they box themselves into a certain price point and a certain thing. And this is because most people don't stop to ask the difficult and uncomfortable questions. The question is not, what is my offer? That question is asked from the stamp cave, not from genuine real world interaction. The real solution is to get out of the cave and discover the value and the offer fresh every time with real human interaction. Yeah, not having an offer, basically. So the real questions, how can I get closer to my people and find out what they really need? If I did nothing but bring my presence, listen, and got curious about what they really need and how I could help them, what would happen? What am I most excited about that I would do for free, that I would love to do and get paid money for? If I had only one thing to share with my people that would make the biggest difference in their lives and solve the majority of their problems, what would that be? But you don't ask these questions in your cave by yourself. You ask them with people. We'll get to that. What is the most valuable thing in my life and how can I share that? What can I do, be, and have now that I couldn't before? What happened in my life so that this could be possible? How valuable would this be for others who are in a situation that I was in the past? How can I bring my soul, my conviction, and my faith into this impossible larger situation and solve this massive problem to create a new reality? How can I make $1 million while having fun? If God is on my side and I could do anything and help anyone, what would I love to do to get paid handsomely for? And so, as you ask those questions, as you open yourself up to that, people and massive opportunities are going to enter your soul space. And your job is not to shove your perfect offer down the throat of everyone you meet. Your job is to stay open, stay curious, and discover what the value potential between you and them really is. In other words, how can you truly help? In this way, your infinite value will be reflected more and more, and you will create things beyond your wildest dreams and serve in ways that you never imagined you could get paid for while having fun. The value between people and opportunities will naturally arise between you and that person. And the degree of that value depends on who you're with, your intention, and where that person's ready to meet you, how deeply you ask these questions. And most people think they're buckets. And because of that, this whole thing is very limiting. So at best, you can kind of get someone to nibble on a bucket, or you can convince them that it's valuable and they'll buy your bucket, but they're not really buying the bucket. They're always investing in something larger with you, whether it's a person or an organization, any kind of value exchange. It's bigger than that. The bucket thing is always like, I have this predefined bucket, and this person's like, well, I have this problem. Will this bucket fix it for me? When instead you go into the world, zoom out, and bring your entire being to the platform, more of this happens. Deeper and deeper value exchange is possible. You have a lot more fun, and it's worth a lot more to everyone. Examples. I just hop on a call with people, and I just discover the value, and magic happens. And I'll share a recent example. So you're probably watching this right now, Mr. D. I had someone, I hopped on a call, and we didn't really know what was going to happen. I wasn't even sure. And then this person shared this idea, and it wasn't like really clear in that moment, but I hopped on a call with him the next day, and we decided we were going to do this incredible psychedelic ceremony together with divine geometry. And it turned into the thing that not only helped this person, but also me in a tremendous way. And an entirely new practice came out of this, of using divine geometry to re-architecturalize consciousness somatically with emotional imprints. I'm still digesting it. It was wild. And I didn't go in there with an idea of going, hey, this is going to be the thing I offer. It was co-created in the moment because I listened deeply. Another example from my life is recently I took a year off because a huge opportunity came into my life. It was an elephant in the room. And it was an old business that I needed to reboot to essentially save the world, because it was a breakthrough mineral water technology that got suppressed that could save millions of people's lives, but it got smear campaign. And in that example, it wasn't me versus a person. It was me with a possibility. And I invested my whole being into it. And it was a year of my life. And it ended up changing a whole industry and changing the lives of numerous doctors and professionals all around the world, and continues to echo through that industry right now. That was the value that was created out of that decision of me discovering what I really needed to step into in that moment as that presented it itself. What this has taught me the most is that the things that I think are least valuable become some of the most valuable things for other human beings. As an example, I help people come back to their power, but one skill I have is dating. I just really know a lot about how to be a man and how to hold space for women, so that as a man, I can attract a woman into my life. And this is something that a lot of men struggle with. And before I would hide this thing in the background and not even talk about it. Now, if I am coaching a man and they visibly have problems with women, I'm like, hey, you know what? We could spend a couple of weeks talking about that. That's going to help you a lot. And usually it's the thing that makes the biggest difference for them, going, oh, I'd love to do that. And so just bring that to the table. And it's incredible. And you'll see this happening in your life as well. And most people are zoomed in completely on who they think they are, right? Who I think I am. And maybe on the periphery, they see some other colors, but they don't really know what it is. They never stop to think what it is. As you zoom out, you see there's way more to this picture. As you keep zooming out backwards, you realize, whoa, there's way more to me than I thought. There's who I think I am, but there's also who I also am. And these other parts are not opposite, they're complementary. So there's your main thing, there's your other thing that helps the main thing. There's your essence, your depth, the thing you think you can't do, but you can. The thing you think is useless, but is actually gold. And this is the stuff behind the rocket that most people ignore. This is the essence, the juice, the person that you're becoming, the courage, the audacity you have, all the aspects and virtues in you that are invisible because you can't see the label from inside the bottle. You're way more awesome than you think you are. And for me, My core thing really is the power of my heart. It's this incredible presence I bring to the world. But it goes deeper than that. There's my nervous system, my music, my health knowledge, my business experience, my leadership skills, my spirituality and God connection. I began to bring all of this into my offering. And that's when things started to take off. I realized that that's where the actual value is. Right. And it's sometimes impalpable things, things that are very hard to describe, the real world experience that is felt but can't really be articulated, the trials and tribulations I've been through, my courage and my vulnerability, how deep you love, how stubborn you are, right? Fatherhood. These are all things that shape you that normally you think are not valuable, but they are. This is what the market essentially is coming to you for. And of course, if you spent the majority of your life in one area, one bucket, what people will come to you will be related to your core focus. People come to me because they want to heal and come into their power and blah blah blah. But when you think like this, when you step into true value, instead of it feeling like this, where please come into my bucket, it's going to feel more like this. You're going to be sharing from abundance. You're going to be glowing with a light that has kind of something to do with your buckets, but it's beyond that. And people will be lining up for you and the buckets and to do things beyond those buckets that you can't define yet. And so this ultimately means simply hopping on calls with people and discovering the value and offering it. And this is beyond the scope of this presentation. I'm going to show you how to do that in another video. The point of this video is to lay the foundation. As you connect to more of your humanity and the entirety of what you have to bring, people will feel it. And because of that, they will bring more and more of their humanity to that call. And that's how you identify the 5,000, 10,000, or $1 million problems that they or the world has, which you can solve with your skill sets and the channel that you are. And this is actually the key to you bringing your full gift to the table and closing the deal at the highest level. This is huge. And think of it this way. Your value is infinite. It's like this infinite stream of running water. And capturing value is just taking a snippet of that and turning it into currency. This is where money is made. And you get to decide how much you want to make by what you aim your focus and your prayer and your devotion and your openness to. And it's paradoxical. The key to you finding your magical thing, your perfect offer to bring to the world is to actually have no offer. And the better question to what is my offer is how can I increase my magnetism by being more of who I truly am? That's when the market starts to come to you and you decide how much you want to make. And at this point, you will move beyond survival and into thriving. But this is still not true value. This is just the beginning. This leads us to the sixth part of being the channel and tuning in your true value. And so the gatekeeper of this whole thing is this voice in your head that says you're not enough. This wears many hats, and you might be thinking of this as well. I don't know what to do. I'm not skilled enough. How do I actually do this? Do I really have any value? How do I even help people, right? You're going to be confronted at this in the fulfillment of your value at every stage as you try to deliver on your promise or even to offer it. And this is where deep faith and conviction is important, especially in the beginning. Remember, we're moving from this to this. It's a dynamically completely different other world. But in the most basic sense, it's about going from ego to being connected to divine will. The ego says, I have to do it all on my own, and all value comes from me. But that's a false number because you're not separate. And in true value, you think differently. I allow it to be created through me, and God uses me to create value, and thy will be done. And this is very, very good news. Because if it was up to your ego, you'd never figure this out. You cannot operate in the true value world with your ego. The only way to operate is to surrender to life and God and to learn how to become a better instrument to be used for the benefit of all. There will be deeper training on this, on how to do this in our sessions, don't worry. But in short, getting out of your own way, relaxing relaxing, opening, and allowing it to be created for you and through you. And as you do this, God and the universe will use you to do good in the world, bring opportunities and people to you. And the good news is you can rely on physics. Only people and opportunities that you can handle and help will be drawn to you. It's physically impossible for the opposite to happen unless you force it. And then it will be obvious. And that's hard to do. And this doesn't mean that things will be perfect, and they don't have to be. And as you do this, you will work with all kinds of people, all kinds of opportunities, and you will go through a dynamic, reflective, self-learning feedback process where you'll learn what your true value is, what it really is. You will discover who you like working with, who you don't, what you enjoy doing and what you don't. That's important. And as you spend more time in empty spaces with people helping, you will notice something peculiar. The real shifts, the deep value in the world and with your people and your projects that occur in your presence happen when you least expect them. The real value happens when people go from their head to their heart in a fraction of a second and everything changes. Perhaps you've had some of those moments here in this presentation. That is ultimately the only thing that can change the world, because only people changing their perception changes the world. And your ability to do that, and you have it, and the proclivity of other people to have those experiences with you is the closest thing that could be described as your true value. And these moments and spaces are the moments that reflect your true value back to you. They're the moments where you're having the most fun, doing the least, saying stuff that's just like whatever, doing stuff that you really enjoy, but it makes the biggest difference. And harvesting these moments and reflecting on them is the entire point of this journey. And as you harvest them, you will start to see what's really going on. You will start to see what it is you are actually doing and who you actually are. And that it has little to do with your process, niche, your offer, or who you thought you were. It is something much deeper, way more awesome, way more simple, and something that you would have done for free. Like, really? People pay me money for that? And this is hard to believe at first, but yes. And the master prompt becomes, if I did what I did when I was a kid and got paid for it, what would it feel like? And you start to see you're doing it already, and that this is what people value most about you. And this is starting to happen in my life. I start to see that God in the universe uses me to put me to places, people, situations where power, divine alignment is necessary. And I assist that situation or group of people in connecting with that. That's the best way I can describe it. And when I do that with people, that's when magic happens. That's my deepest power, my deepest gift. And when I zero in on that, I enjoy my life tremendously. And this is where the golden feedback starts to come in. Remember, it's not the skill or the tool. It's the person behind the skill or the tool. And the only way to see that about yourself is to have it mirrored back to you. And the only way to have it mirrored back to you is through curiosity and empty space with other people. Not a space of like, here, I have a 5-step program for blah, blah, blah. We're going to meet in this space to integrate the 5-step program. If you do that, you're not going to have enough empty space to see anything outside of that forced container. And this is what most people are doing. They're forcing things, offers into the people's throats. And so they never experience themselves as empty space, channeling, and it collapses this whole process. So much more is available, but it takes courage. So at this point, when you start to see it being mirrored back to you, you have a choice to go all in on your true value and cut away everything else. And this is where the golden feedback loop starts to happen. As you focus only on this, your gift, well, what are you going to get out? You're going to get a feedback loop of that. People are going to come to you for your gift. The world will come to you for your gift. You're not even going to be able to describe it at one point. At one point, you're not even going to need to describe it. We won't have to define it in any way. It'll be unspeakable. Like some of the greatest artists and musicians in the world, they just show up. They're like, hey, here's my thing. People come. You don't need a landing page sales letter to sell someone on a concert ticket to your favorite artist. You just go, all right, you're drawn magnetically. And same thing will begin to happen. And this golden feedback loop, as you go all in on your value, an incredible simplicity unfolds. You become truly yourself, authentic, deeply valuable, irreplaceable, and uncopyable. Money will cease to be a question in your life. There will always be a path to money. And this is a paradigm phase shift that never ends. You will constantly see deeper into your value and have the choice to cut away what doesn't align anymore and go all in on what matters most. And you see this arc in all magnificent creators. For example, the Beatles, which we referenced earlier, they did their thing, they had new inputs, they created something amazing, but eventually they evolved so much. The next logical stage in their evolution was actually breaking up the band so they could create more value in the world. Jim Carrey, as an example, this guy barely even does acting anymore. He mostly just roams around and talks about spirituality. And the same thing will happen for you. And recently, my mentor made a very interesting decision. He's this incredible teacher, grew a multi-million-dollar business, and he just quit it all. And he told everybody, I'm sorry, I'm out. I love you all. But what I actually want to bring to the world is so beyond business that this is limiting for me now. I can't do it anymore. And I have to go and make movies. And I'm finding this pattern in my own life more and more too. I love doing what I do, but now I really need to do music more and more in my life. And so I'm moving and taking my music more professionally as well. And I'm taking my content and how I work with people into deeper and deeper pockets of what matters most. And I ignore more and more of the stuff that could be cool, but really isn't where the juice is at. And this is how you start to step more into being, expressing, inviting, alignment, listening, and guidance, and how you discover your true value. And your true value is not a thing. You start to realize it's a happening. It's a happening that up until this moment never dared to imagine could happen to you. And most people think that this journey will look like this. It will look and feel a little bit more like this for a while. But I promise you, if you keep it simple and take our sessions to heart, all you really need to focus on is that decision to walk through the gate, creating empty space, the habit of focusing on being you with your most important work and passion, the habit of inviting people into your space, and I'll help you with the rest. And I'll leave you with this. Many years ago, I was putting my 6, 7-year-old daughter to bed, forgot exactly when. And I built up to this moment for weeks. And I thought, you know what? I've been telling her bedtime stories for years, but this bedtime will be different. I'm going to drop the bombshell on her. I'm going to ask her the important question of who she wants to be when she grows up. It's going to probably make her think. She might doubt herself, and then I'll be a father and coach her into her soul or something like this. And I asked her eventually, I was like putting her to bed. So I was like, so darling, who do you want to be when you grow up? And remember this, I almost laughed out loud. Without a split second of delay, she answered, myself, of course, and went to sleep. I was just dumbfounded, trying not to laugh to wake her up, but I was laughing internally at myself on this process because the child knew she had come here to be herself. And it wasn't even a question in her mind. But because of her programming, somehow that becomes a question. And we come here to be ourselves and we forget that. And life and business becomes easy when we return to it.